Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report live from the NBA Finals. You heard our recap. We broke it all down, and now we're going to go even deeper on Al Horford, who we've given him his flowers again and again throughout this postseason run.
Rightfully so.
Can never say enough about Horford, who goes off for 26 again. We all remember the 30 against Milwaukee. I didn't know if he had another offensive explosion like this one in him here in this postseason, but the Warriors kept him open in the pick and pop. On the breakouts. They played and collapsed and oversold on Tatum, and Tatum was able to hit him again and again. Horford, probably the biggest reason Tatum goes off for 13 assists in this one. Horford finishes with 26, leading all the Celtics, hitting most of his threes. Essential in the fourth quarter, as you talked about.
Yeah, big time. I mean, listen, a guy who's never been to the finals, right, but has a whole lot of playoff miles on that on that career. And I just, going into this one on the Central Maxwell podcast, I was telling Max, look, one of the key matchups that's going to be interesting is him and Draymond. Like, how many times is Draymond going to be willing to go out there and defend the three? How much respect does he have for Al Horford's shot? You know, all that is relevant going into the series, and he made him pay. He made him pay in a big way. I don't think the Golden State Warriors anticipated for him to not only make that many threes, but for it to all come together the way it did in that fourth quarter. But that's exactly the kind of player that Al is. Like, when he's dialed in, when he's focused, when the confidence is flowing, like, he's able to connect on that three-point shot, and he's going to make you pay. Sometimes he'll even beat you off the dribble. Like, he's playing inspired basketball, rightfully so. Never been to the NBA Finals, wants to get that championship. That he's been that veteran for so many years, and I just feel like he's the type of player where he can take his game to one more level, knowing it's the last 2 weeks, knowing you have to give everything you have out on the floor, whether it's to win a championship or to fight to stay alive. And I just feel like Al Horford, he got it. He knew going into this one that you could send a message to the Golden State Warriors in Game 1. And looking at the way that they were leaving him wide open, he took that personally, as Michael Jordan would say.
Well, this is just silly what he's doing at this point. I mean, I was pretty high on him coming in. I wanted that trade to happen. I can do the whole, I told you so. No one saw this coming. I mean, this is some of the best basketball of his career. Never mind, it's like he never left, or this is like prime Al. This is like nothing we've seen this guy do.
Right.
And it's emblematic of a guy who has just stacked layers to his game over the years. I love what he said at Media Day before Game 1 about the turning point of his career in Atlanta when he started having to shoot threes, and then the Celtics took his versatility to another level. Here's what he said.
You've been able to adapt. How have you been able to make sure that you're the kind of player that can stay on the floor?
So yeah, that's a really good question. I feel like the NBA has changed a couple times, the different ways, I should say, since I've been in the league. And when I first got in, it was being played a certain way, more of a post up bully ball kind of way. And then it started to shift a little bit, guys, center shooting mid range a little bit more and things like that. I started to do that. And I remember going into my fourth year, our GM in Atlanta at the time, Rick's son, told me, he's like, hey, you're going to have to, it was actually after one of my injuries. I had a pec tear, and he was like, you're going to have to change the way that you play. Because the game is physical that way. You're not going to make it. You're not going to make it that many years if you keep, because I was, very physical, trying to post up against these guys that had 20, 30 pounds on me and things like that. And he was like, you're going to have to start practicing the corner threes. You got to start shooting it. You got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to start shooting that. I could already shoot the mid range a little bit, but he was like, start doing that. And then Danny Ferry came in a few years after that, and started to change the whole culture in Atlanta. And they were very adamant about, with Coach Budenholzer at the time, for me to shoot threes and to get out there and practice, and did not judge me, just let me go out there and just shoot them away. And that was the way that I had to start to change my game in that way. And then it became more of, when I got to Boston with Coach Stevens, was like, okay, well, now you're going to handle the ball more at the top. You're going to make decisions, and you got to be able to stretch the floor out, but also you have to be able to roll to the basket. You have to be able to do different things. So for me, it was always keeping an open mind and understanding that this game continues to change. And if you don't change your game, then you almost become irrelevant, and you can't stay on the floor. So the challenge for me has been always finding ways to stay relevant, to be on the floor, find a way to be useful, And obviously a big part of that is defensively. And defensively, I went from guarding in the post and having to stop a guy like Dwight Howard or something like that to starting to defend guys in the perimeter, having to switch, defend guys out there, prove myself, guard guys out there, guards coming in and out. And that's just the way that the game that's how it's evolving. So that also entails preparing yourself physically, mentally, all those things to be able to do those things on the floor.
So you hear him talk about there. Started with the mid-ranger, took it out to the three. Celtics after that said, all right, you're going to shoot threes a lot, Brad Stevens, and handle the rock and initiate offense. And more responsibilities kept piling up on him.
You got that max money now, Al, so we're going to need you to do a little bit more.
Yeah, and you remember, back when he was with the Celtics the first time, he got that average Al moniker. But it was a case of him needing to do a little bit of everything. Right. And so he couldn't hone in on one single. I'm sure if he wanted to score 30 points back then, he could.
Right, but exactly. I think you just nailed it. And a lot of this stuff was also stuff that you're not going to see in the box score, whether it's setting those hard screens, being in position to make defensive stops. That's not always going to show up in the box score. And I thought what was a great move for him to come back was because not only was he going to be a leader in the locker room, but he wasn't going to be one of the top 3 featured guys, right? He wasn't going to be someone that people are going to sleep on him pretty much, right? And I felt like this was a great opportunity for him because he can be your leader, he can be the defensive anchor, of course, alongside, the defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart, alongside the Robert Williams, who, another defensive juggernaut for this team. He wasn't going to be the guy who has to be the top guy. And I feel like because of that, he was able to stretch out this terrific play all season and then reach another level when this team needed it the most. And look, it started right before the playoffs, going into that series against the Brooklyn Nets, going into that huge performance on the road, against the Milwaukee Bucks, and now all the way into the NBA Finals, man. It was an incredible performance.
What he's doing here, it's taking his career to another level, and it's actually his birthday today.
That's right. It's midnight, right? That's right. Yeah. So his birthday, looking at the dates, I was like, oh, it's going to be right before. But then I realized, wait a minute. At midnight, post-game, it'll be his birthday.
When he took the podium here on the West Coast, he was still 35.
That's right.
But now Al Horford, wherever he is in the country, 36 years old, 15 years into his career, doing this on the biggest stage, 9 of 12 shooting, 26 points. And yes, a record Nick Josue would love. Most threes by a player in the first game.
Final debut.
I actually love this stat. I didn't have it in the Tatum video, but Tatum, most assists by a player ever in their first finals game. Not Magic Johnson, not Isaiah Thomas, not Larry Bird. Jayson Tatum, most assists in his first NBA Finals game. So just a historic night. The other video.
What do you think that says overall, though, Bob? Not to cut you off, but I just want to get this out there. That experience, all that talk going into this one, it just didn't compute with the Celtics. That didn't compute with the Celtics. They had the experience. They've been battle tested. They faced the best teams that you could face in the Eastern Conference. They faced some of the best stars this league has. They weren't afraid of this moment.
Ime said coming in, finals experience overrated. One of those Ime comments I love. So we'll have more coverage, all those pressers at CLNS Media, our coverage here on the Garden Report, Celtics All Access, recap segment, and where the Warriors are going to go from here next. We talked about all of that after the game tonight, and we'll be live here through Game 2 in San Francisco. Come back Sunday night for another edition of Post Game. We're doing Garden Reports every day live, as well as Dome Theory, Causeway Street Podcast, Cedric Maxwell podcast. You had a segment with him. We work a lot,
man. Yeah, we do a lot of work out here, Bobby.
Yeah, check out that Cedric Maxwell podcast segment Josue did after the game.
That's right.
It's all brought to you by com.com/garden, 40% off a premium subscription. Go get it. Sleep help, meditation, yoga, LeBron, sullying you to sleep. If you're missing LeBron these finals, you can find him on the Com app.
I don't know if that's a good selling point, Bobby, but yeah, I guess you could, if that's your thing, I guess. I thought you were going to say
some people will love it, yeah.
I thought you were going to say the LeBron quote, your mind's like a muscle, this is your way to work it out and get the strong mentality going, or the relaxation going at the same time.
Celtics 120-108 Game 1 winners in the NBA Finals, 3 wins from a title. Al Horford and others searching for that first trophy. 3 next ones are going to be tough. Got to get through the Warriors and how they're going to adjust. Check out what we think they'll be bringing to the table in our next video.